Hey guys, what's up? I'm here with another video today. This time we're reacting to Victor Tenzing, but it's going to be a 16-minute video. Or 20. Yeah, let's go. What? Tenzing. Yeah, go sub to him. Let's make him get to 100k. Yeah. This guy. Yeah. He's got. Okay, let's start watching this video. We're gonna watch Retold series. Yeah, let's start. From
Thomas is a tank engine who lives at a big station on the island of Sodor. He's a cheeky little bastard, eh? With 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy... Oi! Knock it off! What? The insult was bad enough, but I really hate being described like I'm some kind of object. Thomas, you are an object. Oh, yeah, carry on. Forget it, just go to the next scene. Thomas is a fussy little engine too. Oh, come on! Always pulling coaches about, ready for the big engines to take on long journeys.
Angry.
And when trains come in, he pulls the empty coaches away so the big engines can go and rest. Lazy sods. Thomas also has a chip on his shoulders because he thinks he's the only one who does any damn work on the island. This often puts him at odds with the other engines, especially Gordon, the biggest engine of them all. If you don't count the challengers, we don't. Thomas likes being rude to Gordon. Furthermore, whenever the big blue engine tried to rest after a hard day's work, Thomas would usually play a trick on him, like setting his tender on fire. One day, Gordon had enough and decided to pay Thomas back. His chance came the following morning. Thomas had just brought a line of coaches to the platform. By happy chance, Gordon was directly behind him. Without delay, he charged towards Thomas. He collided with the cheeky bastard at a fantastic speed, smashing him into the coaches.
Gordon, what the hell did you do?
Thomas was dazed and confused. Gordon, why'd you do that? He exclaimed. Well, little Thomas, he began, you need to understand the folly of picking a fight with someone bigger than you. In hindsight, that is kind of stupid, but not nearly as stupid as what you just did. And why is that? Because there were people in that coach. Oh, bother.
Okay, I'm getting this money.
One day, Edward was in the shed where he lived with the other engines. They were all bigger than him, except for Thomas, who was obviously smaller, and James, who was about his size. Anyway, the actual big engines enjoyed teasing Edward. The driver won't choose you today, said Gordon. He wants strong engines like us. Hello, Edward, said the driver. I'm choosing you today. Edward was very pleased, while Gordon was very ticked off. I'm very ticked off, he exclaimed. Why on earth would the driver pick you and not me? Perhaps because you killed several passengers recently, Edward retorted. Oh, right. Wait, did you actually forget you did that? Come along, Edward, said the driver. We have work to do. So Edward puffed off to the station, deeply concerned by his colleague's poor memory. Edward worked hard all day, taking passengers up and down the line. They complimented him for a splendid job and were very grateful he didn't kill them. The driver was impressed by his performance and promised to take him out again tomorrow. The next morning, while Edward was getting ready, he noticed Gordon was gone. Suddenly, he heard screaming, and the big blue engine flashed by with the express. Edward was mortified. That galloping sausage has stolen my train, he exclaimed. Come on, Edward, said the driver. Let's get after him. Ha ha! Gordon hallooed. You can't catch me, little Edward. Wrong. That's impossible. How did you do that? Oh, there'll be plenty of time for explanation later, but right now, I'm going to whoop your tender. Well done, Edward, said the driver. When we get home, I'm going to give you a new coat of paint. Would you like that? Oh, yes, please. With that, Edward puffed happily back to the shed, leaving behind a very battered and bruised Gordon. So remember, boys and girls, violence solves everything. Once an engine attached to a train was afraid of a few drops of rain.
Scary cat.
It went into a tunnel and squeaked through its funnel and wouldn't come out again. That doesn't really sound right now that I say it out loud. The engine's name is Henry. His driver and fireman argued with him. What the are you doing, you? His driver exclaimed. The rain will spoil my green paint with red stripes, he replied. Are you kidding me? Before Henry could answer, he heard footsteps approaching from behind. He then remembered his boss had been traveling on his train. This stout gentleman was Sir Topham Hatt, better known as the Fat Controller. The Fat what? Nope, I got nothing. Sorry I had to find out this way, Fatso. Oh, thank you very much. The Fat Controller waddled towards the front of the train. 5 hours later, he arrived.
It's a short.
Oh, damn, bruh. You only walked like 30 meters. You are really out of shape. Sod off. Literally, I want you to sort off out of this tunnel. No, he protested. The rain will spoil my lovely green paint with red stripes. Are you kidding me? Does it look like I'm kidding you? The pair stared at each other. The Fat Controller was the first to look away, but only because he was deep in thought about how to rectify the situation. He then came up with the perfect solution. With an evil glint in his eye, he turned back towards the stubborn engine. It was then that Henry realized he up. Later on at the sheds, the other engines were waiting for Henry to return. When he didn't, they were very concerned. I'm very concerned, said Edward. Where could he be? Here, said a voice. All eyes turned towards the source. It was Thomas. He had arrived with several trucks filled with scrap. The others were horrified as the meaning of his words sank in. That's Henry?
Yes.
Gordon asked concernedly. Indeed it is, the Fat Controller boasted. I wasn't about to let him block the main line, so I settled for scrapping him. With all due respect, sir, Edward began, how is killing one of your engines a good idea? Who said he was dead? What are you saying, sir? Watch and wonder. Gentlemen, get to work.
Where did you get a fish from?
Henry?
Where did he get those two stuff from? Where did he get the
Despite his recent conduct with the Express, for whatever reason, the Fat Controller still allowed Gordon to take it. The passengers were very wary, but the Big Blue engine's behavior had improved dramatically. He was efficient, punctual, and considerate. He also loved flying down the line at top speed. I'm the fastest engine in the world, he proclaimed. Nothing can stop me. I should have seen that coming.
You're the fastest train in the world.
Do I want to know what happened? Edward asked. My safety valve burst, Gordon replied. This is so embarrassing and very inconvenient, the Fat Controller snapped. I never liked these big engines, always causing problems. Perhaps you could replace me with a donkey, sir, Gordon sneered. Don't tempt me. Edward, you'll have to take the Express the rest of the way. I'd love to, sir, but I don't think I'm strong enough to pull this many coaches. I know you're not. Shut up, Gordon. Give it a crack, Edward. And he did. The old engine puffed with all his might, but didn't get very far. Gee, what a shock. Shut up, Gordon. Bother. I guess we'll have to call in Henry. What on earth was that? Well, sir, Gordon began, Henry was immensely traumatized by what you did to him last week. So much so that he now screams at random intervals. It's very annoying. Alright, we'll deal with that later. But now, Edward, you and Henry will have to take the Express to its final destination. Yes, sir. Needless to say, the rest of the journey was not a pleasant one. Although they made good time, Henry's random screaming made the trip an ordeal for Edward and the passengers. When it was over, Henry retreated to the shed and was somehow able to curl up in the fetal position. In light of this, the Fat Controller realized he had to do something. Henry, would you like some drugs? Yes, sir. Please, sir. Okay, here you go. Some special coal just for you. Thank you, sir. Just like that, he was right as rain. So the moral of the story is, all pain can be cured with drugs. Thomas the Tank Engine was grumbling to the other engines. Grumble, grumble, grumble. What is it, little Thomas? Gordon asked. It's not fair, he began. How come I have to spend my time pulling coaches about just so you lot can take them on journeys? Because you're a shunter, Thomas, Edward pointed out. It's literally your job. Well, I'm sick of it. I want to get out and see the world. Do you have any idea how boring it gets being stuck in the same place? That would actually be pretty annoying, Henry concurred. Perhaps we should let the little fellow take one of our trains on occasion. I have a better idea, Gordon began. How about we don't? And why not? You're too impatient. You're bound to leave something behind. Like what? The entire train? I don't think so. All right, little Thomas. If you're so sure you can pull passenger trains, you can take the express tomorrow. Really? You're not having me on, are you? No, by all means. Have at it. Okay, I will. And you'll see how a real engine handles passengers. The next morning, Thomas couldn't leave the shed fast enough. He collected the coaches and brought them to the platform. In no time at all, he was off.
3, 4, 5. How do you make it to 10?
He was delighted by this change in routine and scenery. He got to see parts of the island he never knew existed.
5, 8 is not taking my time. How is he driving on water, for God's sake?
He arrived at the first station ahead of schedule. Edward was very impressed. I'm very impressed, he began. Even Gordon never arrives this early. I guess he just doesn't know how to properly handle passengers, Thomas boasted. Thomas, where are your passengers? They're in the coaches. No, they're not. Thomas was horrified to discover Edward was right. His coaches were completely empty. He then realized after he brought them to the platform, he hadn't actually stayed long enough for anyone to get on board. Thoroughly humiliated, Thomas slunk back to the big station. When he arrived, he not only found angry passengers, but a very amused Gordon. Well, well, little Thomas, he began. I now see the proper way to handle passengers is to not deal with them. Brilliant! The passengers got on board and Thomas departed.
I meant the TV series.
Though he was very late arriving at each station, he nonetheless did well. Even so, the Fat Controller decided to not put him on any more passenger trains for the foreseeable future. That night in the shed, it was only he and Gordon. The big blue engine made the mistake of teasing his colleague. The next morning, Gordon was found in a ditch. Nobody knows how it happened, and he never told, but he made sure to never tease Thomas again. Thomas the Tank Engine wouldn't stop being a Despite his blunder with the Express, he still went on and on about how he never got to see the world. His constant whining was starting to get on everyone's nerves. He's worse than a social media activist, Henry whispered. Indeed, Edward replied. We need to find a way to placate him, and I have just the thing. Thomas, how would you like to take my goods train tomorrow? I wouldn't. Why not? I don't want to pull trucks. They're horrible things. Oh, for the love of Thomas, stop being a and show some gratitude that I'm giving you this opportunity, you little Okay, Thomas said meekly. Thank you, Edward. The next morning, Thomas went off to fetch his trucks. Now, trucks are spiteful, horrid, and troublesome things. Hey, they don't like being bumped about, and they certainly don't like the engines. Thomas knew this, but he was in a foul mood and simply didn't care. He biffed and bashed them about as he assembled his train. By the time it was ready, the trucks were very ticked off at Thomas. We're very ticked off at you, Thomas, they shouted. We don't want to go out with you. Oh yeah? How about now? Never mind. Good call. Come along. All right, don't fuss. Thomas made good time as he rattled down the line. While the trucks behaved, they were silently seething. They started whispering amongst themselves and decided if Thomas was willing to go gangster, then so would they. At the end of the journey, Thomas shunted his train into a siding. His trucks were now surrounded by dozens of others. They told their homies what had happened, and they were appalled. Such an affront to the gang could not be tolerated. So, while Thomas was taking on water, the trucks surrounded him and gave him a proper beatdown. The Fat Controller arrived to find Thomas in a battered state. Well, little Thomas, he began, it seems you still have a lot to learn about trucks. Yes, sir, Thomas began. Like how the were they able to move without an engine? Thomas was very ticked off. He had wanted to get his own back at the truck since they gave him a beatdown, and he did. He bumped and biffed them around the yard. Sometimes he thrashed them a little too hard. The first time he did that, he was introduced to a very unusual set of cranes. That's the breakdown train, his driver told him. It's used to lift heavy things like engines and coaches and the Fat Controller's wife, and little like this lot, Thomas added with a sneer. During one of these recovery operations, Thomas heard the sound of an approaching goods train. He barely had time to blink before the engine rocketed past. The engine's name was James, and he was a always boasting about his splendid red paint and amazing speed. The latter he liked to put to the test, even when hauling dangerous cargo. Not long after thundering by, James had a spectacular crash off screen. Oh, bother, Thomas exclaimed. Why is there never a cameraman around when you need him? No, said his driver. I mean, grab the breakdown train. We need to help him. Thomas was coupled up and took off as fast as he could.
You saw my thing.
Hello, busted boiler. Holy you took your time, you slow. Note to self, don't tick off those who are trying to help you. James was glad to be back on the rails following his accident, although the Fat Controller was annoyed it happened in the first place. James, he began, you need to be careful. Speeding is unacceptable and dangerous. That's different. If you say so, sir, James replied. What's my job today? You'll be pulling passenger trains. Now see those coaches? Those are as fragile as a modern-day feminist. So handle them with care or I'm going to have you executed. Understood, sir.
You should not.
With great care and trepidation, James backed down onto the coaches. He buffered up to them ever so delicately. All was well, until they burst into flames. Oh, bother!
What have you done, Victor? Why do you like abusing them?
James was waiting anxiously in the shed. His first attempt at pulling coaches had literally gone up in flames. Given what the Fat Controller had told him beforehand, his fate was likely sealed. Oh dear, he groaned. I will surely be executed. And no one will ever see my lovely red paint again. The Fat Controller soon arrived. Don't worry, James, he began. What happened with the coaches wasn't your fault. It wasn't, sir, James replied. Then what happened? Spontaneous combustion. Oh, okay then. So, what happens now? Well, I can't put you on passenger duty, so for the time being, you'll handle trucks. Oh, wacko. James was rightly concerned. He knew as well as any engine how troublesome trucks could be, and they would surely give him grief for what happened with the coaches, which they did. Hey, check this out, lads! One of them began. The firebug's taking us out! The trucks giggled in their silly way. James was annoyed but undeterred. He set off with his train. Unfortunately, the journey wasn't uneventful. The trucks would slip on their brakes and their axles would overheat, causing the train to stop. Despite these setbacks, James was still able to reach his destination, but he was very annoyed at the trucks. I'm very annoyed at you trucks, he snapped. And what are you gonna do about it? They retorted. I'm gonna burn you to a crisp. You wouldn't I? James burned the little blighters.
Wait, hold up. I'm just checking something. Oh, my news video. Yeah, this one's still... Oh my god.
To ash. Although the Fat Controller wasn't happy about the destruction of railway property, he was glad James had put to the torch the most troublesome trucks on the line. Well done, James, he complimented. From now on, whenever the trucks give us grief, we'll burn them alive. Oh, but when they don't give us grief, sir, James asked. Now you're just being psychotic. Sorry, sir. One night, the engines were resting in the shed after a hard day's work. James was very happy. The Fat Controller said he's going to let me pull the express soon, he proclaimed. All the engines were happy for James, except Gordon, of course. Stuff and nonsense, he snorted. Why would the Fat Controller give my job to a pyromaniac? Because I've never killed any passengers. Touché. The next morning, James was doing odd jobs around the yard, but he stopped to watch the express leave. Goodbye, little James, Gordon called. See you tomorrow. What just happened? I don't know. Let's try that again. What in blazes? The Fat Controller soon appeared. Gordon, what on earth is happening? You should have left already. I tried, sir, Gordon replied. But every time I do, I end up back here. Watch. See? Bother. The game must be glitching. Perhaps we should try swapping out engines to see if that helps. James, you're up. James was very excited and was quickly coupled up to the coaches. The guard blew his whistle and the red engine was off.
You're supposed to go to back there. You're supposed to be inside of James.
He made good time running down the line.
You killed James. On the inside. What?
Fields and stations flew by. James was enjoying himself immensely, and despite all the delays, he was somehow able to reach his final destination ahead of schedule. The passengers were very pleased with his performance and thanked him profusely. At least, that's what was supposed to happen. That did happen, but in reality, the moment James departed, he experienced another glitch and wound up in the river. Wait, what? You enjoy tormenting us, don't you? Yeah, kinda. Rotten swine.
That's 10 videos already.
Thomas the Tank Engine had been working extra hard lately. The Fat Controller had opened a new branch line and put him in charge of it. Thomas was very excited, especially after he was given a couple of hoes to help him run it. Their names were Annie and Clarabelle. Annie can only take passengers, but Clarabelle is able to carry passengers, luggage, and the guard. I guess that makes me the only useful one. What do we need this stuff for? Cause you got too much junk in your trunk, you strumpet. Thomas always laughed whenever his girls had a go at each other. You should check out their OnlyFans, he would say to the others. But since none of them were simps, they didn't. Wrong. Oh, okay then. Since Henry was a hopeless simp, he was often late to pick up his coaches. One day he was very late bringing them to the station when Thomas was waiting. Sonny, he said, don't worry about it. Thomas replied, I understand. Now I can be on my way. I just need to wait for the guard to blow his whistle.
Nothing.
Any second now. Any second.
This
For crying out. Oh, sorry, said the guard before blowing his whistle. Thomas took off so fast he left him behind. Stop you! Annie called. Why did you call me? Thomas exclaimed as he slammed on his brakes. I called you a... Why? Because you left the guard behind you, said Clarabelle. Whoops. Thomas backed up to the station and picked up his guard. He departed yet again and had to make up for lost time. He was very late arriving at the final station. The Fat Controller was not pleased. In fact, he was so displeased, he decided to scrap Thomas. What? Thomas loves working on his branch line. He runs by fields and through the hills. But his favorite part is the bridge that passes over the Ells River. He would often see people fishing along the bank. I'd love to have a go at that, he would say. How are you going to fish when you don't have hands? His driver would reply. The other engines would say the same thing whenever he went on about fishing. Although, James had another opinion. Fishing is a cruel barbaric practice. How do you mean? How would you like to be ripped out of your natural habitat with a hook through your cheek, only to then suffocate to death? Buzzkill. One day at Elsbridge Station. Hey! I just figured out how the station got its name! Good for you. Anyway, while at the station, Thomas was hoping to take on water, but the tower was out of order. Bother, he said. I'm thirsty. Don't worry, Thirsty, said his driver. We'll fill you up from the river. Thomas headed towards the river immediately. When he arrived, his driver and fireman went down with a couple of buckets to fill them up with water. It took several trips for Thomas's tanks to be filled up. That water tastes funny, he complained. Did you make sure there wasn't anything in it? Like what? Well, fish? Yes, we made sure. You'll be alright, but he wouldn't be. Not long after leaving the bridge, Thomas began to feel a pain in his boiler. I'm sorry to say his crew hadn't been as careful about checking the water as they claimed. There were fish swimming around in his tanks. Some had gotten stuck in his pipes, causing pressure to build. There's too much steam, his driver warned. Oh dear, Thomas moaned. I'm going to burst! I'm going to...
Oh no! That's incredible, still alive.
Oh, bother! It was winter on the island of Sodor, despite it being summer everywhere else. Thomas was puffing along his branch line. He was having a lovely day until he spotted Terence the tractor plowing in a field. It was horrifying, he told the other engines. Why? Gordon asked. Didn't you hear what the narrator just said? Yes, he said. Wait, do you mean ew? What's worse, I had the biggest Sunday school in my coaches. Don't be such a prude, Thomas, Terence snapped. They'll have to learn about that stuff someday. Just keep it in your trousers from now on. No promises. The next day, Thomas set off with a passenger train. A lot of snow had fallen during the night. His driver was worried about it blocking the track, but Thomas wasn't. Silly soft stuff, he said. Watch me give it a good plowing. Wait, to his credit, Thomas was able to break through most of it, but when he tried to tackle a rather large snowdrift, he got stuck. He had to wait until help arrived. Sure enough, it did. What's up, my homies? The tractor is here. Don't ever say that again. All right, fine. I'll take the girls away first and then I'll come back for you, Thomas. Don't go anywhere. Ha ha. Fizzling fireboxes, I thought you'd forgotten about me. What were you doing? Annie and Clarabelle. What? While out and about with Annie and Clarabelle, Thomas spotted a bright red bus waiting at the level crossing. The blue tank engine decided to stop because he looked somewhat familiar. Hello there, said the bus. I'm Bertie. Who are you? I'm Thomas, he replied. Have we met? Kind of. You saw me and Terence in a compromising position in the last video. Oh, right, you were his... Is that why you road types have your exhaust pipes at the back, to make things easier? Shut your steam hole, Thomas, Bertie snapped. Oh, don't mind him, love, Annie began. He's just bad because he can't measure up. Oi, Thomas replied. Bertie found this incredibly amusing. He then said something very demonetizable to Annie and Clarabelle. While they loved it, Thomas did not. Okay, you crossed the line, he said. I challenge you to a race. I accept. First one to the next station wins. You got it. Ready, set, go! Thomas took off as fast as he could, as did Bertie when the way was clear. Even though it was a certainty Thomas would win, he didn't. That's not to say he lost. He and Bertie somehow arrived at the station at the exact same time, so they decided to race to the next station, where the exact same thing happened. The situation repeated itself at the next 3 stations. Nobody could figure out what was going on, and they didn't get a chance to, as the police showed up. It seems their race had caught the attention of many bystanders. Both were severely disciplined for their reckless actions and never raced again, until they did, resulting in a massive accident with multiple fatalities. If that doesn't hammer home the dangers of speeding, I don't know what will. Ever since Thomas left to run his branch line, the big engines had to shut their own trains. They grumbled at this arrangement as it meant they had more work. Although the Fat Controller had promised to get a replacement tank engine, he had been very slow in doing so. The big engines were getting very ticked off with the delay. I'm very ticked off with the delay, James said. Why is the Fat Controller dragging his feet? I think it's because he has too many distractions, Henry speculated. Randy sod, Gordon sneered. Doesn't he realize how busy and important we are? We don't have time to skulk around dirty sidings fetching our own trains. It's disgraceful, disgusting, added James. Despicable, finished Henry. Edward could only grit his teeth and roll his eyes. Every night he had to listen to their whining. For whatever reason, this time was the straw that broke the camel's back. He decided to pay out his colleagues. The following morning started off as normal. The big engines begrudgingly woke up early to give themselves time to fetch their trains. Gordon was the first to leave. He collected his coaches and brought them to the platform. As his passengers began to arrive, he noticed many of them were staring at him. Who's the new tank engine? They asked. New tank engine? Gordon replied. Did the Fat Controller finally get one? Gordon, is that you? Of course it's me. Can't you tell by my tender? Gordon suddenly realized his tender was gone, and he wasn't the only one. James and Henry were also missing theirs. Since there wasn't time to look for their tenders, all 3 had to go without them. The entire day they were mercilessly teased by others. When they returned to the shed that night, they found their tenders. However, they weren't able to retrieve them because the turntable wasn't working. How long until it's fixed? Henry asked. Several hours, the workman replied. You'll have to sleep in the sidings. Are you serious? Gordon snapped. It's either the sidings sidings or nothing. The big engines chose the siding, but they weren't happy about it. The turntable was repaired the following morning, and the trio were able to retrieve their tenders. Edward was very pleased his little prank had worked. Wait, you did this? Oh, you didn't put it now. Come on, lads, let's get him. Thanks a lot. Sorry, my bad. The engines gave Edward a good thrashing, but I mustn't tell you the specifics, or this video might get age restricted. After weeks of dilly-dallying, the Fat Controller had finally gotten a replacement tank engine. He arrived at the shed and was greeted warmly by Edward. Hello there, he began. I'm Edward. I'm Percy, said the engine. Good God, what a stupid name, James sneered. What's yours, James? Oh, don't mind him, Percy, Edward assured. He's a as are the rest of them. Don't let them boss you around, but I'm sorry to say they did. As the new shunter, Percy had to assemble all of the big engine's trains. If he was even a little bit late, they would mock him. Hurry up, you green caterpillar, James would say. Come along, you slug, Gordon would snort. Get the on, you little Henry would snap. All of this abuse took its toll on Percy, but he was not the kind of engine to take it on the chin. In fact, he was the kind to exact revenge, which he did after a particularly bad day. Where the did you get that from? Gordon exclaimed. Amazon, Percy replied. If you have nothing else to say, then give my regards to Satan. Wait, Percy, James began. We're sorry for treating you like trash. Aye, Henry continued. You've made our job so much easier, and we're very grateful. Indeed, Gordon added. The yard has never run better. You should be very proud of your work. We certainly are. Oh, Percy began. Thank you. And you're welcome. Does that mean you won't blow us to hell? James asked hopefully. No, I won't. There's no need for it, and I hope there won't be a need for it again. The big engines made sure of that. They always thanked Percy whenever he fetched their trains. On the rare occasions he was late, they just kept their mouths shut. They didn't want to run the risk of Percy going school shooter again. So let that be a lesson to all. The best way to get respect is to use a gun. Gordon, James, and Henry were very nervous. The three big engines had been terrified of Percy since that whole trouble in the shed business. They thought about telling the Fat Controller, but knew that was out of the question since they prayed the Church of Don't Snitch. However, Edward wasn't a believer and ratted out the little green gangster. Percy, the Fat Controller began, you have been very naughty. You mustn't threaten your colleagues with violence. But sir, Percy began, they started it. I know, he replied. Gordon, James, and Henry, you shouldn't push Percy around just because he's smaller. But as bad as your behavior was, I'm afraid only yours can be considered a crime, Percy. Therefore, I've called the police. Several constables appeared out of nowhere. Percy was alarmed, but determined to not go to jail. You'll never take me alive, pigs! He shouted and puffed away as fast as he could, only to discover the turntable wasn't lined up to his track. Oh, bother! He snapped. He was locked up for his crimes. I wish I could say he was reformed by the experience, but no, he made some very useful connections in the joint, but I mustn't say any more, or I shall spoil the next... Oh, fuck, I dropped my phone.
Good for you.
Welsh coal is highly sought after by steam engines, not because it produces superior results, but because it allows them to get higher than the stratosphere. Percy had literally and figuratively hooked up with a dealer while inside and agreed to smuggle the stuff onto Sodor. It wasn't long before he had a thriving drug empire. Anytime one of his lackeys stepped out of line, Percy would feed them to his pet tigers. Don't you think that's a bit much, Percy? Thomas asked concernedly. Simba! Tigger! Dinner time! Never mind. Good. Now, where are those fine coaches of yours? Indeed, everything seemed to be going well for the Green Kingpin until the government shut down all the coal mines in favor of renewable energy. This destroyed Percy's business and made him vulnerable. So vulnerable, in fact, that he received a truly legendary beatdown. This was enough to make him reform his evil ways. So anytime someone says violence doesn't solve anything, tell them bullshit.
pressing that.
All kinds of ships use the harbor at Knapford. There are passenger ships, cargo ships, warships, and fishing boats. They unload their fish at the dock. Some of it goes to shops in the town, and the rest is sent away on a special train the railwaymen call the Flying Flounder. Sorry, I mean the Flying Mackerel. No, the Flying Sturgeon, the Flying Grouper, the Flying Orca, the Flying Kraken, the Flying Sea Bass, the Flying Halibut, the Flying Sunfish. Okay, the narrator is clearly having a stroke, so I'm heading back to the shed. And so Henry did, but when he arrived, he discovered he would have a whale of a time getting in. I hate you so much. Achoo! Achoo! Gordon was very sick. He had somehow contracted swine flu and had been sneezing his boiler off all morning. This was annoying the other entrants, especially James, who decided to take matters into his own hands. What the hell, James? Did it work? It won't work. I read somewhere scaring a person can stop them from sneezing. That's why it hiccups, you idiot. Are you sure? Yes. Then how come it seemed to work? Gordon suddenly realized he had stopped sneezing. He waited a moment to see if it would start again, but it didn't. He was surprised and bewildered. I'm surprised and bewildered. That shouldn't have worked. Why not? I don't know. In any case, I'm glad it did. Well done, James. Just goes to show you shouldn't disregard alternative medicine, like how I used fire to treat Thomas's sore throat. Nuts.
I have to make this 1 hour, I think.
Toby is a tramp. What? Sorry, I meant Toby is a tram engine who lives on his own line at the north end of Sodor. He works alongside his faithful coach Henrietta. Speaking of tramp, shut up! Yes, the pair figure like an old married couple, but they wouldn't have it any other way. Yes, we would. Their line is quite the popular tourist destination, so they always had lots of passengers. One of their regulars was the Fat Controller. During his latest visit, he brought his granddaughter. What's that, Fatty? She asked. First of all, don't call me that, he replied. And second, that's a tram engine, Bridget. Is it electric? Are you an idiot? Toby countered. Do you see a third rail or electric cables running overhead? No? Then how can I be electric? And with that, he puffed angrily away. He was still fuming about it later on. Electric indeed. Electric indeed. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple thousand volts running through you, Henrietta sneered. You shouldn't have been so mean to that child. Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. I couldn't agree more. Where'd you come from? My mum. Thank you for being so blunt with Bridget. She's an annoying brat who's dumb as dirt. I admire your nerve, Toby. Would you like to come and work on my railway? Oh, yes, sir. Please, sir. It's getting very dull around here, and I'm getting sick of working with this bitch. The feeling's mutual. Then it's settled. Toby will come and work for me, and Henrietta will be turned into kindling.
Wait, what? Don't kill her, please.
Thomas had a rough time of it lately. No sooner had he gotten out of the works thanks to James's alternative solution to his sore throat, the little blue tank engine came down with a slight case of police brutality thanks to a rather crooked cop. The Fat Controller was very annoyed. I'm very annoyed, he said. Why did you do that? He gave me lip, the policeman replied. Anyway, it's illegal for him to be up here since he has no cow catchers or side plates. First of all, it's called a pilot, not a cow catcher. And second, I pay you to look the other way. So what gives? You were short. You want to stay on my good side? You pay me what we agreed. You don't like it? Call a cop. The Fat Controller was not happy about this. He told his new engine, Toby, all about it. Flipping coppers, he began. They can do whatever they want and nobody can do anything about it. Lucky bastards, aren't they? Toby replied. But don't worry, sir. I know how to deal with crooked cops. Leave it to me. The trams soon made friends with the local tramps and encouraged them to become acquainted with the dodgy lawman. It didn't take long for the group to become involved in some very NSFW activities. They took plenty of pictures and videos which were used to blackmail the officer into compliance. With the tables turned, the railway used him to get out of several quote-unquote mishaps. So the moral of the story is, if you ever get the upper hand on someone who mistreated you, make them your bitch. James is very proud of his red paint. He's always boasting about how splendid it is and takes great pride in keeping it clean. Whenever his colleagues are looking a bit grubby, he's always quick to tease them about it, especially Percy. "How you doing, Dirty Percy?" he would say. "Don't call me Dirty Percy!" he snapped. At last, Toby lost patience. "James," he asked, "why are you red?" "Because it was the color they gave me," he began. "It's not that deep, bro. So you'd still be a pillock if they paid you pink? How am I a pillock for keeping myself presentable? It's not about personal grooming, it's about your attitude. You don't need to tear others down if they look a bit manky." "You're right, I don't need to." And with that, James puffed happily away and somehow didn't notice the tar wagons directly in front of him. "Oh no, my paint!" he moaned. Toby and Percy were very amused. "I'm very amused," Percy began. "Toby, whatever is that dirty object?" "That's James. Hang on, isn't tar extremely flammable?" Yeah. And is your fire still going?" Nuts. Well, sucks to be him. It sure does. It was late in the day and the engines were getting ready to take their final trains. Unfortunately for Gordon, this train was comprised of trucks, which he hated taking. Rather than suffering in silence, he decided to voice his discomfort. "What a disgrace," he began. "A splendid engine such as I should never pull trucks. Such a task is better suited for lowlifes like you." James was very ticked off by this and muffled under his breath, "Oh, go throw yourself into a ditch." "What did you say?" "I said I have a really bad itch." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear." "All right, Gordon," Edward called. "I've shunted your train, it's good to go." "Well, let's get this over with." And he puffed very slowly towards his train, and I do mean very slowly. This annoyed the others, as they couldn't take their train until Gordon left with his. Henry was quickly losing his patience. "Get a move on, you fat-faced sausage." "What did you say?" "I said my favorite color is orange." "Oh, mine too." Gordon finally coupled up to his train and immediately came off the rails. "How did this happen? And don't say plot convenience." "All right." Edward brought over the breakdown train. He wasn't happy as this delay meant he would be late getting back to the shed. "Thanks a lot, Gordon, you stupid sod." What did you say?" "I said, thanks a lot, Gordon, you stupid sod." "Oh, fair enough." The injuries Thomas sustained at the hands of the corrupt policemen were taking much longer than expected to repair. Until they were completed, the others had to cover for him. Percy was assigned Thomas's regular job of collecting trucks from the lead mine. Upon his arrival, he noticed a large sign next to the track that read, "Repent your sins or suffer God's wrath." "What?" "Sorry, I mean danger. Engines must not pass this board." This was a problem, as the trucks he needed were located on the other side of the board. "How am I supposed to collect them?" Percy asked. "Magic," replied his driver. "Abracadabra," and the trucks miraculously appeared behind Percy. "Oh, that's handy," he commented. This scenario was repeated on subsequent visits to the mine, but one day his driver kicked the bucket. Without his magic, there was no way for Percy to collect the trucks. "What am I going to do?" he asked. James was nearby and made a suggestion. "Just go get them. I'm not passing the sign." "Oh, don't be a pussy. If you're so brave, you go." "All right, I will." And so the red engine did, certain nothing would happen. But the moment he passed the sign, he completely disappeared. Whatever cosmic forces were watching that day felt the need to punish James's insolence by erasing him from existence. So let that be a lesson. Don't ignore danger, and don't be a James. It was Christmas on the island of Sodor. All the engines and staff were gathered at the shed to celebrate the festive season. The air was filled with the sound of Yuletide cheer, merriment, and goodwill. Everyone was having a lovely time. The Fat Controller was really getting into the spirit. He and Mrs. Kindly enjoyed some quality time under the mistletoe. Gifts were being exchanged and... Wait a minute, what day am I making this? January 23rd? Stop this then, I'm going down to the pub.
What do you mean February?
I don't think he's coming back. Merry Christmas, everyone! It was a pretty average day on the island of Sodor. The weather was dreary and the rain made working life difficult. Because the tracks were wet, the engines had to run at slower speeds. For the likes of Gordon, this was especially frustrating. "It's disgraceful," he complained. "An express engine forced to crawl along the line like a common tank engine. Do you have to refer to tank engines as common?" Percy countered. "No, I don't have to." And with that, he puffed importantly away. Percy had had enough of the big blue bastard's blather and decided to pay him out, so he made a plan. All steam engines require coal, and the quickest way to get it is via an overhead chute. Percy made an arrangement with the workmen. In exchange for exclusive access to his OnlyFans, they would bury Gordon in the stuff the next time he came for a top-up. The little green engine was very excited. "I'm very excited," he began. "I hope I don't have to wait too long." "For what?" "How'd you do that?" "Magic. What do you want to wait for?" "This. Now!" The workman pulled the lever and down came the coal, burying Gordon. He was not very happy. More like really pissed off. "Why did you think this was a good idea?" "Because it was. You need to be taught a lesson. You do realize you're now trapped here with me?" "Yeah, but it was worth it." One day, Edward was traveling along the line with some cattle trucks. They were filled with cows on their way to the market. "You mean the slaughterhouse?" "Yeah, okay. What's this? Doesn't sound like the cows are too fond of that idea." "Holy porterhouse! They've broken out of your hands, Edward. You must be very annoyed." "Oh no, I'm absolutely peachy." Well, there's nothing for it. We'll have to round them up. You might want to do it quickly. Gordon will be passing through with the express soon. I'm sure he'll slow. What? Why did you do that? Why not? I need a drink. One morning, Edward was waiting to pick up passengers from Thomas's train. "Peep, peep, where is Thomas? He doesn't usually make us..." "Oh, wait. Oh, could you forget about something like that?" his driver asked. Edward didn't answer. He just puffed sheepishly away. He was unaware that Bertie the bus was racing towards the station at that very moment. He had been tasked with delivering Thomas's passengers, but when he arrived, Edward was long gone. "Bother!" he snapped. "Why didn't anybody call ahead to tell Edward I was coming?" "Don't worry," said the porter. "I'll telephone the next station." While making this call, Bertie left. He tore along the road as fast as he could, but when he arrived at the next station, Edward was gone. Likewise at the next one, and the next. By that point, he had reached the end of the line and was very confused. The next day, he spoke to Edward about it. "Didn't you receive a phone call?" he asked. "Yes, I did," Edward replied. "Then why didn't you wait?" "Because it was funnier if I didn't." "Oh, fuck you." It was another busy day on the island of Sodor. All the engines were working hard, except for Edward, the lazy sod. "Hey, I'm on my way to the scrapyard." "Well, it was nice knowing you." "Ha. The scrapyard is full of rusty old parts and machinery. They are broken into pieces, loaded into trucks, and then taken away to the ironworks, where they are melted down to be reused. Today, there was a special surprise waiting for Edward. It was another steam engine. "Hello there," he began. "I'm Edward. What's your name?" "Barry," the engine replied. "You look rather sad. What's the matter? Didn't you just hear the narrator? I'm going to be broken up and then melted down." "Oh, yeah. That doesn't seem right. Not when you're still alive." "Oh, well, such is life, I suppose." Edward couldn't abide that, so he decided to do something about it. He told everyone he knew about Barry's predicament. They jumped on their socials and began spreading the word. Hashtag Save Barry soon began trending. Unfortunately, as this was a noble cause being promoted on social media, it amounted to jack shit, and Barry was broken up later that week. Bother! One morning, James was waiting at the station for Edward to arrive. He was running late, and James was very annoyed. "I'm very irritated." Close enough. Anyway, Edward finally arrived. "Late again?" James snapped. Edward laughed. "Why? Why what?" "Why are you laughing? There's nothing funny about not doing your job properly." "True, but I wasn't laughing at that." "Then what?" "You'll see," Edward said slyly. James puffed nervously away. They didn't get far before being derailed. What the hell? He barked. What's this old iron doing on the track? I put it there, Edward admitted. I knew you'd make a crack at me for being late, so I decided to get my own back. Hang on, is this why you were late? Because you had to set this up? Yes. Then I had every right to be mad at you since it was your own fault you were late. Oh yeah, I guess you did. Shit. Trevor the traction engine lived in the local vicarage. He works around the grounds, clearing debris and plowing the fields, but sometimes there isn't much for him to do, which leaves him feeling sad. One day, Edward noticed his old friend was down in the dumps. What's the matter, Trevor? He asked. I hate being idle, Trevor began. I prefer to keep busy. I also like to have some company, especially from children.
Wait, what?
Yes, I know. That's why you got a visit from the police, remember? Oh yeah. What should I do? For one, stay 500 yards away from any kids. As for the other thing, maybe you need a change of scenery. I heard the back controller is planning to build a new harbour. Maybe you could help with that. What do you think? That's a wonderful idea, Edward. Thank you. Before long, Trevor found himself at the construction site. The back controller was waiting for him. Thank you for offering to assist, Trevor. He began. My pleasure, sir, Trevor replied. When do we start? Right now. But where's the crew? What crew? The construction crew? Didn't Edward tell you I was planning to build this harbour? Wait, did he mean, how are we going to build a harbour by ourselves? Where there's a will, there's a way. Trevor didn't believe that for a second, so you can imagine how dumbfounded he was when the task was done. This should not have been possible, he stated. Anything is possible with determination, the fat controller said. That's what I tell my grandchildren. Isn't that right? Yes, Poppy. Uh-oh, you! Bother! Percy is a cheeky little engine who works at the big station, or on Thomas's branch line, or Edward's branch line, or the concentration camp, really wherever the plot needs him. And today, it needs him to take some trucks along the main line. He was making good time when he stopped at a signal, not because it was red, but because it wasn't. What the hell is this? He exclaimed. Oh yeah, his driver began. I forgot to mention they're trying out a new signaling system where different colors mean different dangers. What's the point of that? So the bureaucrats can justify their jobs. What does pink mean? I think it means beware of gazelles on the track. Do we have gazelles in the UK? Only one way to find out. Let's keep going. If we see something dangerous, we'll stop. Percy didn't like that idea at all, but carried on regardless. He didn't see any wildlife, let alone a gazelle, probably because there weren't any. You see, his driver got it wrong. Pink didn't mean what he thought it did. Then what does it mean? Oh yeah, now I remember. Pink means beware of sinkholes. Of course it fucking does!
He pissed off because he was
Do you know what? Percy asked. Yes, Gordon replied. Oh, what about you, James?
No.
Yeah, Henry? Aye. All right then, that'll save some time. Of course the big engines knew what Percy was talking about. They had read the script after all. A new engine was coming to help around the yard. He arrived later that day and was greeted by the fat controller. What's your name?
Bob.
Montague, sir. But I'm usually called
Oh,
Doug.
what a
Dear God, what
stupid
stupid names. I'll call you Bob instead. Beg pardon, sir, but I don't like that idea. Too bad. You're Bob now. Let me introduce you to Percy. Hello. How'd you get there? Magic, he replied. Shall I show him around, sir? Yes, please, said the fat controller. Have fun, Bob. My name is... Come on, Bob. We've got work to do. Bob, I mean, Duck wasn't happy. His false name quickly spread, and every time someone said it, it was like twisting a knife in his boiler. Eventually, Duck got so sick of it, he staged a protest outside the shed. He sat on the turntable and refused to let anyone in. The fat controller came to see him. Bob, explain yourself. My name is Duck, sir. We've been over this, Bob. It's a stupid name. You should be thanking me for giving you a normal one. Beg pardon, sir, but that is not the Great Western way. We're not on the Great Western. That's obvious. On the Great Western, things would never... Hang on, Percy began. What are we waiting for? In the blink of an eye, the engines appeared inside the shed. Bob, Duck was very annoyed. Stupid magic. One day, Percy was collecting some trucks from the new harbour. As he was leaving, he passed by the local airfield where a helicopter was waiting to take off. Hello there, he said. I'm Harold. Who are you? I'm Percy, he replied. What whirly great arms you've got. And nice arms, I can hover like a bird. Don't you wish you could hover? Oh, I get high all the time. In fact, this train is filled with, never mind. Don't worry, Harold replied. It's not like I've never partaken in recreational pharmaceuticals. Really? Percy asked. In that case, I have an idea. How about a race? Last one to the quarry has to give up their stash to the winner. Capital idea. I'll see you up there. The moment Harold left the ground, Percy realized what he had done. There was no chance he was going to beat his newfound opponent, so he decided to be sneaky about it. Harold made to the quarry in mere minutes, but when he arrived, he was swarmed by police officers. They searched his every nook and cranny and found his stash. He was arrested and confined to the airfield. He had a few choice words for Percy the next time he saw him. You rat! He snapped. Yeah, Percy said unashamedly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to Mars.
What? I come back in the
Bob, Duck, had been assigned to Thomas's branch line, where he took on a variety of jobs. One of his favorite was taking Annie and Clarabelle. They were very happy to be out and about with the new engine and complimented him for doing a good job. You're doing a good job, Annie said. Indeed, Clarabelle concurred. It's a pleasure to work with you, Bob. My name is Duck, he snapped. Duck proved to be quite the popular attraction. People would often wave at him as he passed by. While he took their adulation in stride, I'm sorry to say his crew did not. They reveled in the attention of driving such a famous engine. One day, while mingling with some rail fans, they forgot to apply his brakes. Duck started to roll forward before stopping. How'd you do that? You mean apply my brakes? Wait, you can do that? Of course. Why wouldn't I? I don't know. His crew immediately got back on board and resumed their journey, turning what could have been an exciting story into a rather mundane one. Thanks a lot, Bob. I hate my life. One day, Henry was resting in the shed after a hard day's work. He was tinkering around on his computer when Percy arrived. Hi, Henry, he said. What are you doing? Just surfing the net, he replied. You ever go online? No, I don't care for technology. I find it too distracting. Okay, boomer. I'm not a boomer, if you say so. Percy was very annoyed by Henry's insult, so much so he decided maybe it was time for him to get online. After buying his own computer, he accessed the net, and there it consumed him. He argued with strangers, doxed a few, and trolled many more. Henry witnessed this degradation but was reluctant to intervene. That changed after Percy made some unsavory remarks to a little girl whose mother had just died of cancer. I can't believe you said that, he exclaimed. It's a lot better than what I was originally going to say. Do I want to know? Henry immediately regretted asking. No, I won't repeat those words. You'll have to use your imagination. Boy, do I look forward to reading the comments on this one.
I hate you, Victor. I hate you so much.
After working on Thomas's branch line for a time, Duck returned to Knapford to keep the yard in order. He did a good job, but it became apparent there was too much work for him to handle alone. So the Fat Controller brought in a new engine. Here is Diesel, he began. I've agreed to give him a trial. He needs to learn. Please teach him, Bob. Hello, he began in a shrill, nasally voice. Nice to meet you, Bob. It's Duck, actually. That's a stupid name. It's better than yours. I wouldn't even call it a name, just a description. If you must know, my name's Bruce. Don't care. Come on. Needless to say, the pair didn't get along. Their animosity caused chaos around the yard. Trains were delayed, the passengers were upset, and the overall vibe was just awful. It got so bad the Fat Controller had to intervene. He came up with a perfectly reasonable solution. Fight to the death. And the moral of the story is, don't fuck with the duck. Bruce was very annoyed. He had been extremely only salty since Duck killed him. It didn't help the Great Western engine constantly rubbed it in his face. Lose any fights today? He would say. Fancy another beatdown? He taunted. Bye-bye, Numpty. In that moment, Duck unwittingly sealed his fate. Bruce took to social media to say, and I quote, Duck just called me an N-word. As you can imagine, this technical truth was grossly misinterpreted online. By the end of the day, hashtag #FuckTheDuck was trending. This came to the Fat Controller's attention, who was disgusted by Duck's actions. I am disgusted by Duck's actions. I mean, your actions, Duck. How can you say such horrible things? I didn't, sir. I called Bruce a numpty. Is this true, Bruce? I'm sorry, sir. I can't answer. I'm too traumatized. Oh, pull the other one. I'm sorry, Duck, but until this blows over, I'm transferring you to Edward's branch line. I'll get you for this, you uppity Nick. Duck was not happy. He had been working on Edward's branch line for the past week and was still ticked off as to how he got there. It's not fair, he began. That big black weasel has made everyone think I'm a racist. Well, maybe you shouldn't refer to him as a big black weasel, Edward advised. Not to mention what you said at the end of the last story. I was gonna say nitwit, you numpty. Really? Yes. Then shame on anyone for thinking otherwise. We're sorry. Me too. So, Bruce has been lying about you. How do we get him to tell the truth? But before they could begin brainstorming, the Yardmaster arrived. Bruce has broken down the main line, he began. I need you to go fetch him, Edward, and be quick about it. Gordon will be coming through with the express soon. He will? Duck asked. In that case, let me handle this. Before anyone could reply, he puffed quickly away. The Great Western engine soon arrived on the scene. Well, if it isn't me old mucker, the big unspecified colored weasel. Hey, I didn't lie about you using an N-word, but you didn't tell the truth about what it was. Do that, and I'll help you. Let me think about it. No, it's your funeral. What do you mean? Look out! That's how I rescued Bruce and saved the day. Is this true, Bruce? Yes, sir. And I need to tell you something. Needless to say, the Fat Controller was very annoyed by Bruce's confession. As punishment, the diesel was thrown into a garbage compactor. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, don't fuck with Karma because she's a bitch.
Okay, guys, that's a nice way to end this. Okay, it's been nice. It's been 1 hour now, but see you in the next video. Bye.